Horns Down podcast.
What's up, people? Horns Down podcast is in effect. We are live tonight. It's been a second since we've done a midweek live, but we are here with, some of the usuals. We have Jason Watkins from the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast, Horns Down, and then we also have Mr. Sooners 360 himself, Mr. Chris Mason, kind of a resident host of the show. Jason can be a resident host of the show as well. These guys are always on. We're on their channels, all the rest of that stuff. Like and subscribe, do all those different things, to the Patreons, to all the crazy links that Jason has, everything. Go over there and show some love to all to these fellas right here. Definitely appreciate y'all for coming on. Tonight, people, we are doing two things. We're going to preview the Ole Miss game, but first, we do this an awful lot on this show. And we're going to have, and it's proper, right? With all the climate of the politics and everything arching up to November 5th and all the rest of that stuff, we're going to do a state of Oklahoma football address, okay? So I'm going to let Chris Mason go first, and I'm going to let him just kind of address the program just however he wants to. You can and get as dirty, as crazy as you want. In the comments, people, let me know exactly how are you feeling. Whether that's you want BV gone, you're glad Seth Luttrell is gone, or you hate that Seth Luttrell is gone, or you're happy that this is happening, or whatever. I just want to address it. Just a second ago, now we had a friendly conversation tonight. It was actually friendly, but Nick said, "Hey," from Nino's Corner, he said, "Is OU in a rebuild?" And I said, "No, you just suck offensively." But like Jay said, it's you can say, we are rebuilding our offense, right? So, Chris Mason, I'll be quiet and I'll let you go. What do you have to say as far as addressing this program right now?
Well, I would say we're not in a rebuild. We're in a little bit of a reset. Need a reset where we reset on offense. And if we can reset on offense and get the right persons in, depending upon what that may mean and what may be, then I think OU can be back to being competitive in the SEC in 2025. And then in 2026, I think you'd have your first OU team that is ready to compete for a spot in the SEC championship game in Atlanta, whatever that means, if it's still in Atlanta in 2026, whatever location that's in. So I think Atlanta's got it for a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't change. Maybe it shows up in Dallas every once in a while. So I think that's where we are. We're at a hard reset. And I would say defensively, OU is in the best position for a 3-year run of defensive play this year, next year, and 2026. That we haven't seen since the early Bob era. Just when you think about who the young defenders that are littered on the roster that are playing right now that at least have 3 years to play. But I do think offensively we're in a reset that it is a make or break hire for Brent. It really is. It's a make or break hire for Brent. He needs to nail this offensive coordinator hire. If he does not, and OU continues to struggle next year with a similar record, similar schedule, a little better home away balance, and some of those teams are losing some big pieces. A lot of those teams are losing big pieces, more than OU's really losing from a certain perspective. I would say that if you can't right the ship and get OU back into 8-4 territory next year, Brent's in trouble. So you can't have, if you just take the odds makers viewpoint of the rest of our season, OU is going to go 5-7 this year. Now that doesn't mean an upset can't happen. Vanderbilt, we're talking about a football season where Indiana's undefeated, BYU's undefeated, and Vanderbilt has beaten Alabama. So which didn't happen since like 1984. So anything's possible. But if you go with just statistical trends and what we've seen on the field, OU's staring a losing season, which would technically be Brent's second losing season, sort of to be hyper technical. So I don't think you can have 3 of those and still be the head of the OU football program. So in terms of Brent has fixed what seemed unfixable, our defense, right? For the longest time, it just seemed like that was completely unfixable. He fixed that, and seems to have a foundation in both coaching and recruiting that's going to keep OU going for a while on defense. Offensively, again, it's a reset. So it's either is it a soft reset, or are we just talking about swapping out a play caller and a QB coach, and a tight end coach probably, or is it a hard reset where you're going to clear out the entire offensive coaching staff and have someone come in? So to me, Brent has used up his capital. My Brett confidence preseason was probably about 9 out of 10 with the way recruiting was going, with the offensive line and class coming in. When September 1st, when we kicked off against Temple, it was probably about 9 out of 10. I am probably about a 7.5 out of 10 right now. That Brent is the guy to go on a 6-7 year run of OU being a playoff competitor in the SEC with an occasional championship, a team that can win the SEC championship. I know we always were competing for the Big 12 championship for years after years, but the SEC, as we're learning and as everybody else in the SEC is learning now with this expanded SEC, it's just a lot more difficult with the East-West breakdown of the divisions gone. Things are just a lot more difficult out there, depending upon the playoff, the schedule mix you get of SEC teams. So when you move to 9 of those teams, that's going to be even tougher. I think a realistic State of the Union progress goal for Brent is we need to be in the playoff hunt every year, and every 2 to 3 years we need to have a team that's competing to be in Atlanta to win an SEC championship. If that's our goal, as that's our stated goal, we right now are not. We're not there. Can we be there next year? I think maybe. It's hard to know how much of a reset we need to do offensively and a rebuild we have to do offensively to get going. So that's my 2 cents.
Jason?
Well, I would agree that at the start of this season, and obviously before all the injuries and the fuckery that's been going on, I would say that the state of the program, you felt like was coming in a good situation. I think right now you have to look at it as teetering on the edge, because look, you have a dominant defense, and it feels like you're not in a good position to win a football game right now, and you have a dominant defense. And when that happens, now we just traded one thing for another. And so to me, I look at this as a situation where, can it be fixed? Absolutely. Absolutely. They've got lots of talent in the program on both sides of the football. You have to have a coherent game plan on the offensive side of the ball. You have to be able to put some amount of points on the board, even with the defense that forces turnovers and can do what this defense can do. You got to do it. You have to be able to go out there and have a coherent game plan. And we haven't seen that. And you can put as much of this on injuries as you want to. And I would tell you that it's tough when you have your top 5 guys out. But the guys behind them are 4-star guys too. Right? And to me, I think it's a lot more about the coaching, and it speaks to whether or not Brent Venables really is a head coach. I want him to be the guy. I think he is the guy. But I think that you needed to put more effort into the hire than what he did. And it feels like there were some things going on in the program that he should have seen earlier than what he did. And so it makes you kind of wonder. It makes you take a step back and wonder whether or not he can get it flipped around, or is he going to be you know, another just, you know, he's just a coordinator. Is that narrative going to be real? Because right now it looks like it could be. So I have to say it's teetering, man. I think that the state of the program it's kind of teetering on the edge of success or failure.
So I'll jump in here and I'll say this right here. I agree with both of you guys. Decisions, man. Big decisions are upon us. I definitely like what Steven said on it. Go check out the SEC Connect. Go like and subscribe over there as well. Jay and myself are on there. But basically he said, hey, are we all in the same opinion that like a lot of people are auditioning this year already for like jobs next year, including Jackson? Hell yes. I think it boils down to a bunch of big decisions that need to be made. Do you go get a portal quarterback, one that actually is going to come in and compete for that starting spot? You're going to go get a new OC, and I don't think that the OC is going to be in-house or whatever, no matter how these next 5 games go. I think that you will be seeing a new OC there. I think that you will be seeing some movement on the staff pretty much. I don't necessarily know if that's defensively, but offensively, you may lose a guy or two as far as that staff. But I mean, it's just one of those things where right now we are, how to say this, we're not a terrible team. We're not a good team. We are a unbalanced team. I think that's the best way to describe this team.
Incomplete.
We're an incomplete team. Our offense or whatnot, like I've said time and time again, the fact that you can't even run simple offense. I'm not talking about I'm just talking about basic install. Just run stuff that you know, hey, my freshmen, they can grasp this. They can go out there and run 5 yards, do a hitch, do this. Just run simple plays. Hell, you can run Lincoln Riley's air raid, his version of the air raid. A lot of his plays, if you look at his plays, they're not just some super elaborate thing. Yes, he will throw in little wrinkles and super elaborate stuff. But hell, when you look at his offense, at the end of the day, he's running stick. He just has guys out there to just make you look stupid, right? But the problem is you can't even run base offense. And when you're hearing reports about around the team as far as you're installing 50 new plays or this and that for Texas and all the rest of it, I get that you want to run some new wrinkles and some new plays and predicate something and have something installed basically for Hawkins. But at the end of the day, it never felt like this offense had a true identity. It never felt like from game to game, we didn't know what was going to happen. And at some point, it almost felt like we had handicapped our own offense, because even with these young guys, you can always send them on go routes. You can always send them on deep post routes. You can always send them on all these little like orbits and stuff like that. But it felt like we were scared to throw the ball at one point. I mean, down the field. Like I said, you can't even run simple offense. So it is a hard reset as far as what you are doing offensively. Defensively, I think you have a chance to be incredible over the next few years, simply because not only recruiting, but just the guys that you have on campus, the guys that are getting a lot of burn right now, as far as Boganowski's, the Jaden Hardy's, guys like that in that secondary. They're not going to be you're coming in next year feeling good about these guys that are getting time, the Eli Bowens, guys like that, hey, he's probably a starter next year. You get what I'm saying? You feel really good about that, about those guys. You see David Stone starting to really kind of make some noise here and there. You've seen Jaden Jackson. You've seen a lot of these young guys really grow up. And that's the bonus of a season like this, is that at some point those freshmen become sophomores overnight. And we know Kearney, Raggins, guys like that next year with a competent offense, what they could be. But right now, you're just at the point where you're just a really unbalanced team. You're kind of at rock bottom right now, offensively, defensively. You're just trying to get through this season, get guys to the draft, get guys healthy again, like Dolby and all the rest of that, and just keep going from there and keep building. But you have to be able to play complementary football. And do I believe that we have talent? Do I believe we have the competitive depth? Hell yes. But right now, with what we've seen through 7 games, the first 3 games were very, very lackluster. Okay. The Tennessee game was less than inspiring. The Auburn game was mostly Sooner magic about the defense never giving up and the offense finding just chipping away at what they could. And then the Texas game was just basically just more or less of the same of what we saw. And it just felt like the wheels were finally coming off the wagon, right? And then the South Carolina game is the loss that I would say it was devastating, simply because of the way that we just came out and never recovered. And our defense kept us in the game as long as they could. It was 21-3 for the longest.
Yeah,
but that loss sucked way more than the Texas loss, than the Tennessee loss, simply because you just know at some point it felt like offensively, not the players on the field, but offensively at some point it just felt like we had given up. And like I said, shout out to my guys at Championship Standard, but it truly, truly, truly felt like we had given up when we started throwing slant routes, which are, again, not a part of a Seth Luttrell offense that I have seen, that I have reviewed film on.
Well, and that's kind of what we're talking. I mean, and even really, had it not been for the turnovers, which, I mean, it was set up to fail to start with, right? You know, that we've talked about it since the day it happened. I mean, you've got not just a tight end blocking an All-American edge guy, but the worst blocking tight end probably on the roster. One-on-one against that guy. It almost feels like, I mean, if you didn't know better, you'd say, was he throwing the shit? You know what I mean? It's like, it's just weird to you. Yeah, it's just weird to see things like, and I'm not saying he was, I'm just saying, you know, it's those are the kind of things that it's head scratching, because you've seen this program excel so much on offense. I think that you go get the right guy to run this thing.
Yeah.
You turn it around right now.
Yeah. I think this job is really attractive, not because it's just, it's an OU and what this could mean on the back end and all the rest of stuff. But I think this job is really, I think if you're an OC out there and you're one of the top OCs, and I'm not just talking about somebody who's caught lightning in a bottle over the past year, I'm talking about somebody who's put some time in, right? But if you're a top OC, I think you're saying, hey, if I come in there and fix this, I'm feeling cocky because I can fix this. I come in there and fix this with that defense and that defensive staff and the mind of BV behind me. What are we talking about here? We're talking about a lot more than just conference championship or just even getting close to a conference championship and potentially a playoff berth. We're talking about a lot of continuity and really good football over the next few years, because you're saying, hey, I potentially get these 5 guys back on top of the talent that's already there. And what I can potentially bring in, I think that there's some people out there that's looking at saying, hey, I can fix this and I can figure this out, and I can get that 5-star that you guys got down there to play like a true 5-star. Right. So, and I don't think that 2025 we go out there and set the world on fire and win the SEC or whatever the case may be. But damn it, I would go out on a limb and say, hey, if you had a competent offense, if you had Levy, damn it, I'd be damned. I would definitely go out on a limb and say, I think you're probably winning somewhere between 8 and 10 games this year, just because you're running a competent offense and playing complementary football. Guys, we got Jay from Unfair Sports. Definitely go check out the show. All the rest of that on there. It's been a minute. My brother is back home. He's home away from home.
Blessed with his presence.
I know we got Jay, the guy, on
here. You're muted though. It's not that great. You're muted.
You're muted. You still. Bro, I can't. Jay, He had to come back. But yeah, no, I just think that with Levy,
his voice is too pure for you to hear it.
I think with Levy, man, or excuse me, not even just Levy, but just a competent player.
There we go.
There we go, Jay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I had StreamYard open in another window, so it muted this one, and it wouldn't let me. So I had to close this one out, come back in. So my bad. No, man, it's been 8 weeks of a nonstop go, and I'm finally actually getting to be at home in an evening on a Wednesday. So yeah, that's why I haven't gone live on a Wednesday in a while. It's because I haven't been home to do it. But it's good seeing y'all. I miss everybody, man. We gotta get back to these collaborations and stuff. So.
No doubt.
Love to see you all. Let's
But Jay, jump into the question. We're doing right now. We're doing the state of the Oklahoma football program. Mr. Mason, Jason, and myself, we kind of given our spiel. But go ahead and just kind of address the program in your eyes.
Man, to be honest, this is gonna define the Brent Venables era, and I hate it for him. I hate that this is the thing because the reason you brought him here was to build a defense, right? He did that. And the unfortunate thing is we did not build the offense in a similar manner, as in we probably should have had a redshirt sophomore quarterback this year. I know that a lot of basically the guys we brought in, decide to leave once we brought in our 5-star quarterback of Jackson Arnold. And last year, he wasn't able to be fully developed like we would have liked him to be. Because, he was learning behind Dylan Gabriel and you thought things had been better. But having all that turnover on offensive line and then everybody get hurt right afterwards ruined the offensive line. BV did the thing that we asked for. He gave us a defense. And the defense looks really good. If the offense didn't give back everything the defense did, if they didn't undo everything the defense was doing, we would be in a different situation. So from there, the big thing is this next hire is going to be that definitive moment. The good thing, though, for him is this isn't abnormal. Saban had to go through a couple of offensive. I think he went through like 8 offensive coordinators in his entire tenure. Like from after McElwain left, when he was starting to build the empire, he was going like 1 to 2 years for OCs. But his DC, Kirby Smart, was there for 9 years straight. So it made it a lot easier and a lot more palatable for him because he's a defensive guy. He was giving the offense away to his CEOs and he kept changing. So for BV, the key thing is he's going to have to bring in an offensive coordinator, but he's not going to be able to let him be fully the CEO. He's going to have to make sure that there's collaboration in there. And that's where I think we ran into some faults because some of those wide receiver rotations did not look like everybody was involved in the decision making. It just didn't. Even the running back rotations, it didn't look like everybody was involved like they were supposed to be. So we hit a very big bump in the road, actually a boulder. So now we need to hope that, we can find some cranes or something that can pick this up and move it out of the way and we can start moving forward. But we've got a massive boulder right in the way that's holding us back, even though the defense has put us in a very beautiful sports car.
Thanks.
So that's a simple answer. Now from there, I gotta know what do y'all. And I think I like this question that was asked by Steven over there. Was on SEC Connect. What do y'all need to see this week out of Jackson Arnold for you to feel like there's been progress?
Faster decisions.
That's been me.
Quicker, decisive. I'm guessing we're going to see more RPO, more Levy-like offense. That's what Joe John Finley allegedly can play call. So can Kevin Johns do anything to restore confidence? In-game confidence. Now he's the guy. He's the guy as the quarterback coach, the quarterback guru. All stops with him. Can he impose some confidence and walk Jackson through a game plan as the game's going on? Hey, make this adjustment. This was open. We need to hit this on the next series. Those are the things I'm looking for from Jackson Arnold, a little more decisiveness, and okay, it didn't work last time. Make teams pay for showing the same thing a second time he gets to see it.
Yeah.
I think decisiveness is going to come with being more organized, and I don't think that they've been organized coming into this point. I think there's a lot of stuff that's been going around that, like Jay was just saying, it hasn't been a collaborative effort up until this point.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Well, that's what Brent's saying, right? I mean,
Not
Brent,
a collaborative effort, and I think
Brent said that.
We're all hearing it too.
Yeah.
We're all hearing it too from other places besides Brent. I don't think the fact is that they didn't have a real game plan. It doesn't feel like that they've been watching all the little different things that you should be able to see. We've heard different little stories about what may, that the touchdown that he threw to Brendan Thompson last week was
him changing the play.
Changing a play.
It looked like it because he literally walked up to the line. He looked to the side, and it didn't look like he was going to compute it. And he started to say some stuff and moved his hand, stepped back, and it went to 1 second, and he hiked it and chunked it. It felt like a change.
I don't know why it's taken so long to do that, but that's if you can see those things to where they're picking out stuff on the film, then you're going to find a way to manufacture some offense. But I think it's organization, guys. I think you have to come in here and find a way to know what they're about to throw at you. Make no mistake, this Ole Miss defense is as good as its offense is.
Yeah, I agree.
They're the number one defense in the SEC according to all the metrics. I don't know if that's because they played the worst schedule of everybody in the SEC or if it's because they're really that good. Maybe they haven't played a real offense yet either, aside from LSU. In the end, they're number one against the run. I think they're number 1 or 2 against the pass. This is going to be a good barometer, but you have to have a game plan that you can stack plays on top of each other and do the right things.
Yeah, I think the fascinating thing too to add to that is Ole Miss has struggled. They can't get out of their own way in a lot of ways. And the good thing for us is they have no clue what we're going to do in this game. Like, I mean, Lane Kiffin said it. He said it in a quote unquote tongue in cheek, but he was for real. He was being honest. He has no clue what Joe John Finley can do. He has no clue what the play call is going to look like, even though he's worked on staff with them, even though he knows he's from the Levy tree or any of that. He has no clue how this game's going to get called. And to be honest, I think that Kevin Johns is going to be a lot more involved in the play calling without having the capabilities of knowing the terminology. Like, remember, he just came in as an analyst. He worked more so for advanced scouting, which is probably why the defense was looking so good. Now that he's going to be helping call plays, he never had to study the playbook. He's studying it, getting everybody going. He just doesn't know the terminology because just about everybody's playbook is roughly, if you're from a similar tree, your playbook's basically the same, just different words that's used to help distinguish it from everybody else's. I think Kevin's going to help a lot with JJF on the actual play calls and making sure that we put ourselves in good situations and help the quarterbacks interpret what's going on. He just doesn't know what words to say in order to get them on the field. So don't be surprised if he's very involved.
Hey, Jay, do you feel like when the Seth Joe John Finley announcement was made, do you think media analysts, OU podcasts, do you think we kind of glossed over the fact that there wasn't a real quarterbacks coach on staff after that move?
So what do you mean? Like when Seth was let go?
No.
Oh.
When Levy left, right, and it was obvious that we were moving to a Seth Luttrell, Joe John Finley co-OC situation, and both of your co-OCs are fullback tight end coach, right? I mean, Seth's a fullback, wide receiver spread kind of guy, right? And then Joe John Finley's a tight end coach that neither guy had. Do you feel like the first mistake was Brent didn't say, okay, I'm going to promote Seth, but I got to call somebody on the offensive staff to be the quarterback, to be the full-time quarterback coach, co-OC who can, because I'm bringing in, it's not like if I have a veteran quarterback, if Dylan Gabriel was coming back, I think you could have gone with no QB coach for a year. But
fair.
With Jackson and no veteran really pushing him for the starting job, because obviously Casey Thompson, he wasn't healthy until the summer. So I just wonder, it just seems like I'll throw myself in this as well, that maybe we didn't ask enough questions then to say, well, who's the QB coach in this situation? If the quarterbacks are struggling, who's the guy who's really going to be able to mentor and drive improvement with them if we have some early season struggles?
So this question here, Matt Wells wasn't let go. Matt Wells got a job.
Yeah,
I think he got like a OC job somewhere, didn't he?
I thought he's at K-State.
He's at K-State, right?
OC
There you go.
at K-State, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Matt
Yeah,
Wells
so
got a job.
should Matt Wells have
blowing
been
up on offense?
Should Matt Wells have been the co-OC instead? Should you have? I mean, there was enough recruiting reasons why, and on the field performance reasons why you could have let JJF go last December.
I think this is where it was. Now, if JJF had left and followed Lebby, there was still probably a good chance that it would have been Luttrell and Wells as possibly your staffers. But to answer your question, well, we didn't ask that question about Lebby, who's an offensive lineman. He was the quarterback coach and, the offensive coordinator. And I think that's where it was, because Seth Luttrell was the QB coach as well as offensive coordinator / head coach when he was at North Texas until the next season he brought in Graham Harrell because it became a little bit overwhelming. Graham Harrell came in, became the quarterback coach and offensive coordinator, and they both kind of ran the plays together. The numbers they were putting up were ridiculous there. Yeah. So you was assuming that's the model you were getting. Well, when Matt Wells took the OC job and QB coach job at Kansas State, the assumption was bringing in Kevin Johns. Kevin Johns was working with the quarterbacks. Now, in a way he was, but he wasn't part of the planning. That was Seth, who was your, QB coach and everything. That's probably where the mistake came in, was not having Kevin Johns working closely with the quarterbacks at the same time. But this is also, I'm going to put it this way. And to your point, Chris, this is a very good question that we're going to have going forward. Brent Venables, when he left and went to Clemson, Dabo literally made him the CEO of the defense. He had 2 CEOs. He was the chairman of the board, but he spent most of his time working with the offense. Like now, he finally let Garrett Riley do his job, and you can see a dramatic difference in Clemson's offense. You can tell when Dabo's involved and when he's not.
Klubnik actually looks like he's improving.
Yeah. Exactly. So because of that, BV looks like he did the same thing with Luttrell, gave him that CEO of the offense, and he worked closely with Zach Alley to focus on just the defense, because that's what he needed. That's what Lebby got. That was how he was able to convince Lebby to leave Ole Miss, was you got autonomy of your offense. I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm going to focus on this side. Or just focus on running the organization, period. And that's kind of where you start to probably see some contention and butting of heads, was some of the tempo decisions that Lebby would have. I was like, what are we doing, getting cute? Just keep moving the chains. Then you can really start going. I think that he tried that same thing with Luttrell and it didn't work. And that's where this is where I say that you have run into this problem. Everybody's dropping in here all of these coaches that they want for OC. Mm-hmm. You bring them in, and they're not going to come here without the thought process of, I want the same autonomy that Lebby had. If you want one that's worth a damn.
So,
now,
go ahead.
If you go for an up-and-coming coach, you may be able to still hover and oversee a lot of it. But the big money ones y'all want, they're going to require being to have autonomy. And if they screw up with their autonomy, then what do you do?
Now, you say the word autonomy. You say the word autonomy, and I will say this right here. In the past 2 pods that we've all done together, Chris Mason has been on record as saying, people, look, you got to realize is that when he does bring that guy in here, your Will Corns, your Will Steins, your Ben Arbuckles or whatever, you gotta come
Kine, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta come in here with an open mind, because
shouldn't be a problem in view of the fact that he's given them autonomy so far.
Well, hold on. As Chris Mason put it, you can't hamstring your OC. So that means you could see potentially another couple of moves off of this staff.
There's a possibility.
At the very least.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that you pointed out. If you bring in an OC and they're the CEO, what makes you think they're not going to want to bring their own staff? Right? Anytime you clean house in a C-suite at a large corporation, they usually start replacing the other C-suite members with people that worked with them that they know that they can collaborate with perfectly. So there's no guarantee anybody on offense will exist here next season. Now, this is the thing that I've had people ask me, and I'm still kind of mum on. There's two reasons why I haven't given suggestions on offensive coordinators yet. One, I don't know what head coaching jobs are going to be available yet. And I promise you, people will, there's a possibility we may see some head coaching jobs in the SEC or the Big 12 or even the Big 10 that some of these coaches would prefer to take over coming to be an OC somewhere. The second thing is whoever we bring in at OC, we need to look for two dudes because that dude should not be here longer than 2 years. If he's worth a damn, the offense turns around. In 2 years, somebody's going to offer him a job because there will be some jobs available in the SEC at that point or in the ACC or any of the Power Four.
Especially if you get a guy like Will Stein, right, Jay?
Exactly.
So they're already talking about getting that job.
But don't you think if you get, so let's just put a name to it to have a name, right? So you're able to offer, Will Stein's making $1.4 million at Oregon, okay? You offer him 2.5 and autonomy, and he says, done. And for some reason, Oregon doesn't match it, whatever. Lanning has a moment of, I'm the big dog around here, blah, blah, blah. I can, any offensive coordinator will do, right? Let's just say, I don't know why. He decides he wants to come back to the Texas area, so Will Stein takes the job. Okay. And let's say two years later, he's rebuilt our offense with the defensive defensive talent I think we would have in 2026. OU is a playoff contender, top 10 team, and Will Stein gets offered because he'll now have done offensive stuff at Oregon, OU. So his resume's stacked, right? It's just like, let's just say he gets the Michigan job after Sharon Moore is let go. Let's just say something like that, right? Okay. Don't you think Brent just needs to be in the mode that, okay, all I got to do is I'm just going to do what I just did. I just need to rent. You don't need to promote from within any longer. You always need to go out and get the best offensive coordinator guy you can.
So on that, I don't think that's a good idea for one reason. Only one reason. Then every 2 years, you're completely starting from scratch on your offensive staff. That level of non-continuity can eventually become a big issue. So what you're going to want to do is whomever you hire, once they eventually take another job, you're going to hope that somebody on that staff with them is ready to be promoted. That would be the dream scenario. Because that's kind of or you can do what Brent did. So he actually did this right, but unfortunately it didn't work out.
Can you go innovative? I don't think you can go, like some people are suggesting names like Willie Korn at Liberty, right?
Right.
Which I think for a save your job kind of hire or keep your job kind of hire is maybe a risk and a stretch based upon his level of experience.
Yeah, you're going to need somebody that's so. Joe Platt said this.
You need someone with gravitas, right?
Joe Platt said this, that you got to be careful that you don't want to immediately go after just the big name, because you go after just the big name to appease the fan base. It could be a bad hire. It could be just you retreading the tires that everybody else has done. Like the one I keep hearing is Billy Napier if he gets fired. And I kind of laugh at that one because I'm like, do you really want Billy Napier over here redoing your entire offensive staff after what you just saw at Florida? Like, do you really want that? Now, I get that he knows.
With him. If he brings DJ Lagway with him, sure.
If he brings Lagway with him. I'm going to be honest. If they fire Napier and everybody keeps telling me they're going to go deep after Lane Kiffin, Lagway ain't leaving. Lagway won't be stupid enough to leave from Lane. Lane Kiffin's going to get that man drafted. He'll do enough. Heck, Billy Napier got Anthony Richardson drafted in the first round, and we saw how abysmal it was with him on the field. So, my question is, if you go ahead and pick up a name that everybody knows, which a lot of these names most people don't know, these are just names that we've been told and people have kind of started to watch and pay attention to, but big name, if you go after a big name person and they redo your entire offensive staff, get themselves a head coaching job and take everybody with them, then what do you do? Now, we're prepared for that because, like I was going to mention, the one thing that Saban did to prepare himself for that is he kept bringing in offensive analysts that are former head coaches. Yeah. And then eventually he promotes them to, offensive coordinator, which is what we did. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. It sucks, but it didn't work out. I mean, hell, remember, Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator at Alabama when Jalen Hurts was a freshman quarterback there. A lot of people didn't know that. Daboll was the offensive coordinator there. Then he went to the NFL right after that year. Because I bet you Saban was like, yeah, this ain't working out, buddy. you may need to. I love you, but this ain't working.
I'm glad you bring that up because that is a great kind of segue into kind of that as far as your wish list, right? Last night, Jason got on it as well. Shout out to my guys at the Championship Standard. I asked them kind of what were their top 5 right now in order. They said 1, Mark Leftwich, 2, Brennan Marion, 3, Joe Craddock, however you say his last name, 4, Willie Corn, and then 5, Warren Ruggiero. Jason got on here and he said Will Stein, Andy Koltnecki, GJ Kinney, Mark Leftwich, and Billy Napier. Now, first, I got 2 questions. First off, where's Mark Leftwich from?
He's also at Texas State. He's the
Texas
OC.
State. He's a Texas State OC.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Now bring both of those guys in.
One more name that's being thrown out there. Well,
where's the Ruggiero kid? Where's he from?
Yeah, where's he from? Warren Ruggiero. Somebody Google
I'll
that.
Look him up. Quick. Warren. Warren Ruggiero.
The next name that I keep seeing
Wake
a lot
Forest.
of people come up with. Wake Forest. No, not that slow motion. Anyways, what I'm trying to say, people, is that a lot of people want James Coley, who is
from Georgia.
From Georgia.
The QB coach from Georgia. I don't
know, people. I don't know.
After the mismanagement of 5-star quarterbacks at Georgia that we've seen over the last 6 years, I don't know.
Agree with that comment.
The defenses have been fantastic, and that's literally what Kirby Smart does. He lives off his defense and has his offense do okay. And the running back room has been fantastic. But he's had 5 stars. A lot of them all have transferred out from.
He's playing
from Justin Fields to Jake Eason to Jake Fromm to the list goes on. Brock Vandegrift. Like, the list goes on with all of that. And Coley was a part. I think he was part around the Vandegrift Justin Fields era. Dale McGee is the head coach at Georgia Southern. He was the OC that helped to recruit. I think Brock and Beck there to Georgia. He may be somebody you pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I know you're a Georgia Southern head coach, but how's it going? Something different?
If you had to guess, Chris, Jason, and Jay, do you think the OC, because when I did a stack ranking of these guys, I kind of did a point value system on them, assigning different points for different variables. And one of the differentiators was, could they bring a quarterback with them?
That's a possibility. That's always a possibility.
Do you think that's going to be do you think that ends up being a prime? We don't know how Jackson will look the next 5 weeks or what's going on with Mike Hawkins or whatever. But if you had to guess right now, between the 3 of you, do you think OU will be that the OC needs to have a veteran quarterback they're bringing with them?
So,
yes or no?
If Will Stein, who's at Oregon, comes, the question is, does he bring Dante Moore with him? I don't see Dante Moore leaving this time.
No,
I think Lanning has a similar philosophy as Venables. You commit to the school, not to the coach.
Yeah, but he decommitted from Lanning one other time before, though. That's the thing. And really the work that he's been doing has been with Will Stein. I'm not saying that he necessarily comes, but
don't you think Will Stein says I can fix Jackson Arnold? I fixed Bo Nix.
I think a lot of them will say. I think he will say that. Absolutely. That feels like the logical thing to say, to be honest.
I think you only take someone like Craddock if the quarterback situation has completely blown up, and you've got to make sure that Craddock can bring Mensa with him. Or, everyone's throwing around Brendan Marion. I hear some not so great things. OU administration about that.
Interesting.
Are we talking about Marion?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he was apparently the one that screwed the quarterback out of all that stuff with UNLV too.
Yeah, that was the rumor I've heard, that he had something to do with that kid deciding to leave.
So the other rumor I got for you guys is that the Bill situation is made much more difficult by the fact that most of the recruiting sources I have say that Bill has pretty much his 2026 offensive line locked up.
I don't think that
he has fibers.
They want to get rid of him.
Well, the OC's got to have a guy to replace Bill. I mean, if you want Bill gone, you've got to have an O-line guy. Does Joe Craddock at Tulane have an O-line guy? Now, Will Stein could have an O-line guy. I believe that. He could say, my Oregon offensive line coach would like to follow me. Can we pay up for that? Okay. I don't see how you turn that down. But like I said, the Bill thing's a little more complicated because he does have the 26 and 27 O-line recruiting pipeline in fantastic shape. The problems of the past 2021 and 22 are no longer exist. He has the O-line pipeline, going. He just offered another 27 kid from Bixby over the weekend who looks fantastic for the 27 class. I mean, as much as I can tell from a high school sophomore's offensive line film. He's 6'5", 280, massive wingspan, plays defensive tackle too. Mobile is all get out. So, but those are the inside words I hear. Marion, there's some rumbles, and everyone I know wants Bill gone. I completely understand that, but he has 5 to 6 guys on the 26 O line already leading on or top 2.
That makes sense. The name that's fascinating the most to me is the Mike Shanahan Jr. one that everybody is really going after. Scott Frost is kind of funny. That's a hilarious one to think. I don't think Frost. I've seen Frost and I've seen Dan Mullen as well.
Yeah.
Well, Mullen makes sense.
Hilarious. And Mullen has put up some numbers. I could totally see a Mullen, if you want to go with the former head coach that can truly be a CEO and actually has success as a head coach in helping really do things. And to be honest, with Dan Mullen, you could bring him in. He probably won't even bring in staff. He'll probably be like, okay, let me keep you, definitely change you, keep you, and make things and try to be more collaborative. But Frosty, I wanted Scott Frost here for as an analyst. I'm trying to figure out why we never did it. That's who I wanted as an analyst. Hire that man.
Where is he?
On his couch?
I thought he was at Bama.
No, he never went to Bama.
Okay.
He's a Ram. He's with the LA Rams, so he's in the NFL. He's a senior football analyst for the Rams.
Who are we talking about now?
So the problem with the Indiana guy, I don't think it wouldn't be a problem other than the circumstance we're currently in, is he's not a QB coach.
He's not a QB coach. So
he's a wide receiver coach. Yeah, Shanahan's a wide receiver coach.
Is another one that is a quarterback coach.
Right.
So I think
you're not getting both of the Indiana guys. You're not getting
Singletary
and Shanahan.
You want to do that? I'm not a fan of the 2 coordinator thing when it comes to the offense. I think you need to let one guy get in there and do his thing.
Now, on that note, you bring in Mullen, you make him, because he's a good quarterback coach, but you tell him he ain't got to recruit quarterbacks because we got 3 of them in the pipeline. You got Jaden O'Neal. You've already got Kevin Sperry. And technically, you only want Mullen there for what, 2?
Well, he'll only be there for 3 years. 3 years, right?
3 years?
Tops. 3 years tops.
That may actually be a good option. And then have him focus on Jackson Arnold, Michael Hawkins, Kevin Sperry, and then Jaden O'Neal. Hey, it doesn't sound too crazy, right? There's a possibility of something that makes sense.
You offer him $2 million? I mean, why not, right?
Yeah. But I don't know. For me,
I think
I'm not looking seriously at possible coordinators until late November. And I say that because by then folks will start being fired and I'll have an idea of what jobs most of these potentials are going to be lined up to, right? Because there's a chance Will Stein can get he can get a head coaching job. Baylor comes open.
JJ Kinney.
Right. Yep. Yeah. A lot of those guys that we've been talking about, they could easily be snatched up by one of these nice jobs that are definitely going to be coming up in the next month.
Now, Jay, I'd say that, but I gave I got a name that I can't release because it would burn my contact. But an unnamed NFL candidate has already contacted OU.
I could totally see that. Oh, I know the agents are working already. They're already picking up the phone.
Yeah, agents are middlemen are already working, and once Seth got let go, and that was one of the reasons I think they let Seth go was to make sure they could get they would be the first in line of the offensive coordinator buffet, right? OU should be first in line, right?
They should be. I totally agree.
They are.
As soon as the LSU kick ends, you should have Brent should be doing phone interviews on Sunday, and then top five candidates, and then bring in top one on campus for an interview and get this guy signed before we sign kids on December 4th.
Let me jump in here real quick. Let me just ask everybody just around the horn, yes or no. Just kind of a two-part question. Do you want to see a portal comeback? I'm like portal comeback. You want to see a portal quarterback come in, and two, do we need to spend money in the O-line as far as the portal this year? I know Chris Mason's answer, but I'm just asking the panel. We got I want Jason and then Jay and then Chris Mason, but I'm asking, do you go out there into the portal? Because to be honest with you, so me and my uncle, shout out to my uncle, we were talking, and I think I'm kind of on his front now. He said, "Hey, I don't think next year Wu can't be starting for you. Obviously, Tarquin is probably gone, and then Spencer Brown probably needs to see the door. I mean, if we're just
he graduates, so
I just say whichever way he's going to see the door, he needs to see that
he graduates.
As my friend Brady Trentham would always say, we went out there and we paid for a group of 5 all-star O-line, O-lineman basically. So just kind of two front again. Do you want to see a portal quarterback come in here, one that's actually going to compete for that starting job to push our young guys, whichever one I guess you would say stays, right? And two, do you want to see us actually put a lot of money into the portal for some actual O-linemen?
The question is, who are you going to get out of the portal and the O-line that you're going to actually be excited about? Like, for example, we were going after Lance Hurd heavy. Right. We didn't land him, and he's not been doing that great at Tennessee, right? Yeah. And he was an expensive one. So someone made a comment in SEC Connect, which was very logical. You have to build your offensive line. It's like making a cake. You got to build your own ingredients in there. You can't go to the store and buy it and think it's going to taste the same as something homemade. You got to actually focus on the development side and everything. The good thing is you've got your EPL, you got your Isaiah Autry, right? You've got a lot of young offensive linemen that at some point that's gonna be able to play. Like we expect EPL, Isosa, we expect Akinkumi and them to start playing right around the Missouri game. That's where they won't actually lose their red shirt. That way you give them that additional year if they need it, because it would probably be super beneficial to them. But you want to get those dudes on the field into the literally last 3 games of the season. You need them on the field so that they can start getting their heads right and ready for next season. And then you ride with them. And you ride with them with Sexton. You ride with them with Howland. You get all of them going the last 3 games of the season. So you're probably going to want to fill some spots with the portal, but I don't think you want to try to build your entire line out of the portal. I mean, it hasn't gone well for everybody. Especially if you ain't got a quarterback.
Oklahoma. It hadn't really gone well for Oklahoma. If we're talking about what is wrong with the offensive line, it's been the portal guys this year. I don't think he identified great as it was, right? I would just say that when you look at it, you've got Isaiah Autry Dent. He's going to be good. You got EPL. You've got some guys right now that are freshmen that are having opportunity. We've been talking about Logan Howland all year. These are guys that probably should be playing anyway. Whatever's been going on, it's affected the rotation, I think, in every room. So I don't know that you have to. I think you go into the portal, and if you can get a really good guy to add to the mix, I think you do that. But I think the reason that we've struggled a little bit more over the last couple of years. It's not because Beanbo doesn't do a good job. It's because it's tough to hit on those guys. If they're in the portal, there's usually a reason for it.
Yeah,
You know?
that's usually what it is. The guys are hitting the portal for you. That's why we lost five dudes to the portal.
It's not a guaranteed, home run whenever you get a guy, no matter what his stars were.
Yeah, I mean, this last class was some solid offensive linemen. You're bringing in Fasusi and Fogier, which both of them are top 10 tackles in ball right now, and I think Fogier is going to be really good. I mean, Fasusi's already considered a potential starter day one just because of his skill set, but you'll have Fasusi and you'll have Fogier coming here in January. I mean, you're starting to replenish, and I like Afalava. I think he's probably going to be a project, but he's nasty.
Hey,
and that's what you need. You just need dudes that are nasty. That's going to start hitting people. That's what you need.
My uncle's already put that he said SEC. He said not only SEC, but he said he could be All-American before it's all said and done. He said Alpha Lava Kid is a mauler. He said
he is.
When he talked to Coop on your show, and he was talking about what he loved was it was going to be a competition.
Yep. He knows he's going to get a chance to play.
To come in and just expect to have anything handed to him. He loves that about it. So I like kids like that, man, that want to come in and have to fight for their spot. It's good stuff.
And this line will be better next year. It will be, right? You're not going to be playing Spencer Brown or Tarkin. They're both going to be gone at that point. You'll be able to get more Sexton and Howland out there who they're starting to stand up on their own. Ozeta, you still have him. He's developing. He hadn't get a lot of snaps last year. He's getting more now, and he looks a lot better now that he's healthy. You'll get Hatchet back. You may get Little Hatchet. I mean, Landon, the conversation was he would come once he got healthy. He's healthy this season. Well, actually, I think he's actually been playing this season, so there's a chance you can snatch him up. So you have Gary and as well as his little brother Landon. So there's components that could come. We gotta just see, what it looks like. To me at this point, I can get excited about it. I just gotta wait and see what they look like on the field.
Here is what, and now these two guys, Greg Ray, you see his comment right there. Then you see Jesse Browning as well.
And we are.
I think Chris Mason would basically say that's all I'm trying to say with these two comments here.
Right.
Develop your guys, right?
Well,
now, go ahead, Chris.
So O-line is a 3-year path, right? It's basically it's a longer development window than any other position in football, really, in college
unless
football.
They're absurdly talented.
Unless you got a couple of Jordan Seatons or Francis Muiaga down at Miami.
Yep.
You probably should have paid Jordan Seaton's bag last December. Got him on campus because he's starting at Colorado and he's doing a good job, statistically speaking. So, but if Jordan Seaton can do that, why can't Fasusi do that for us next year? Losing Camden was a massive blow, right? I mean, it's the only offensive lineman from the previous class that we gave any development to.
Caden Green was a big loss.
It was a huge loss because if you had Caden Green at guard, then you wouldn't have had this whole Sexton flip-flopping from guard nonsense that we've been going through the entire season, right? So, to me, you have enough pieces on. So you've got Akin Kimmy, who's finally healthy. He's a guard or a tackle. You've got Brooks, guard, EPL guard, Iasosa, center. You've got Ozida, Bates, Howland, Sexton, Taylor, who probably should play inside. And then you've got Foji and Fasusi. One of those guys is going to play. And I think Afalava, he's enrolling early.
Yep.
I mean, the thing that people forget is
so is Fasusi and Foji.
And Hollenbeck, who probably needs a year to kind of,
he's going to be a solid. He's going to be a solid lineman.
I like the Hutton. I like the Hutton kid as the walk-on, the preferred walk-on from Louisville.
Yeah, I like Sean Hutton too.
As a center, he's good. So I think you've got enough pieces. To me, maybe if you grab a portal offensive tackle, if there is a great one out there, and you spend the money. Don't screw around and pick up anybody. Be selective about what you're doing. Maybe they've offered an offensive, a JUCO offensive guard, offensive center guy. His name is Jaden Nguyen, I believe. They're also looking at a top 10 JUCO player ranking, an offensive tackle called, I think, Chance Holloman is his name. He's a big dude. So the JUCO ranks are starting to COVID killed JUCO for about a couple of years. The JUCO ranks are starting to bounce back a little bit in terms of talent.
That's what I want. I want some JUCO kids.
So if there's a couple of JUCO kids we could get that could enter the mix, but overall, I think you've got enough bodies and talent that a dedicated offensive scheme and an offensive line coach who knows what he's doing can make. You don't need. If there's a great guy out there who wants to come to OU, plug in piece, then that's fine. But that's your hope. My old podcast partner says hope is not a plan, and you hope there's talent in the portal. You can't plan for it unless OU is doing the kind of tampering, which they probably should be doing right about now.
Probably already is.
Or I mean, if Curtis Lofton's doing his job, he should have some analyst finding left tackles on poor football teams, and we should have 5 names to tamper with. If you're going to really do portal stuff, we need to tamper, right? Same thing at quarterback. We need the OC guy to have, basically grease the wheels to follow him, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
But I personally think, Chris, I'm going to go back and forth on this. I think over the next 5 weeks, running the RPO with Joe John Finley and with Kevin Johns actually mentoring and really coaching him, I think we're going to see enough from Jackson Arnold that any offensive coordinator worth his weight will view that and say, I can work with that. I can make that a winning. I can make him a winning quarterback in the SEC.
That's
my prediction right now. That's my prediction right now. I think 4 games from now, I'd be saying hire Craddock, steal Mensa. I mean, everyone says steal Dante Moore. What's Dante Moore done that more than Jackson Arnold's done so far? I mean, nothing really. He lost at UCLA a couple of times.
And to be honest with you, there's still a lot of people that are really high on Nico. Nico and Jackson's numbers are comparable, just not with the eye test, but as far as
Nico has better wide receivers, a better running game, and a better O-line, and he still looks shaky as old crap.
Well,
he has for most of the year.
I mean, so I think with Kevin Johns and Joe John Finley calling probably a heavy RPO game, which Jackson can hopefully, with his little sabbatical, get back to running it quickly. I think Jackson over the next 5 weeks will basically show enough that whoever you hire to be the offensive coordinator would say, we don't need a portal quarterback. I got Jackson Arnold. I'll make that work. Then it's a depth question. Does Hawkins bolt? His brother's enrolling early. Are they going to have that all figured out before what's going on?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think that either, and I've been saying this for a while, I don't think either one of them leaves. I just have this weird feeling that neither one of them are going to leave.
I think one of them's leaving.
I think one's leaving.
I mean, I totally understand. That to me is the logical thought. Whoever wins is out. But it kind of feels like they're both going to be here in the spring, and maybe spring portal someone goes. But
that's what
it's going to be an open competition.
The spring portal may not be a thing anymore, right?
It is. It's been reduced to like 10 days, I think.
If I'm Hawkins, let's say Arnold does what I just said. If I'm Hawkins, the initial feeling should be I should jump somewhere. He should hold and then jump after spring to see who's in panic mode after their spring game at either depth or starting quarterback, and then he'll be a sweeter option next spring than he will be in December.
Yeah. Well, but no, I said that, Jay, before you came on here. I was like, hey, I think that an offensive coordinator is going to look at this team as a whole and say, hey, okay, so I can come in here and I can keep beating Bo. I can get my offensive line established. I can still go out there and possibly mesh that, mesh what I want, what he wants, this and that. I got other coaches on here. Okay, well, I can get a new running back coach. I can get this new coach or whatever the case may be. But you're telling me I'm going to have this defense and that defensive staff and that mind right there?
All I got to do is do my side of the ball and just play complimentary ball? Yeah.
I think a lot of OCs are going to look at that and say, hey, all you're asking me to do is just fix this. and you're telling me that this is what I have to go off of. I'm not going off of what Levy was doing while he was here. I'm going off of this. Okay, cool. That's fine. I got you. Don't worry about it. I'm not bringing some innovator. I don't need innovation, anything like that. I need somebody. And that's the reason why, as much as I would love to have Brennan Marion, I don't think that you can come here and run the go-go offense as your base offense. I think that it's going to have to be a delicacy that you're giving teams here and there. You're going to have to throw the ball, run the ball. I think that he would be able to figure it out what he wants to do, but I'm not necessarily sure that brand of ball is what you could run here in the SEC. So some of these coaches who are coming here with innovative looks and all the rest of that stuff, hey, that's all fine and dandy, but people got to realize, hell, pretty much that's what we thought that Seth Luttrell was going to do in more of a modest way, meaning that he was going to be a better game manager than Levy. He was going to be able to have more of a physical run game. Now, Levy says he wants to have a physical run game, but that run game is predicated really to me on finesse, simply because you're trying to find that one special and one key block at that second level and giving your running back that one-on-one battle that he wants with either a linebacker or whoever's that DB that's coming down to that second level to try to contain or whatnot. But with Luttrell, you thought, okay, modesty is going to prevail and it's going to be the new innovative way that we get these guys really going, opposed to kind of a little bit of stubborn play calling, fast play calling, all the rest of that stuff, even though it was tremendous statistically, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, I just feel like the OC is going to look at this team as a whole and say, hey, man, I see what's happening on the side of the ball, and I love it. I think we can be tops for years to come, and then I can go on my merry way because I know what being an OC means after a while, right? I know what that means on the other side. If you go and do what you need to do, I know what's on the other side of that. So that's what I'm looking for in this search. But I just feel like if you're a really good OC and you know what you're doing, you should feel confident, damn near cocky about I can come and fix this, right?
There's only if you're going to come here as an OC, I need you to be the quarterback coach as well.
Yeah,
that's a requirement for me from now on.
Having
be
had
a
such a
quarterback then. You like him to be a quarterback there, Jay?
Him being a former quarterback would be awesome, but at the same time, I mean, look at Levy, right?
No, I get it.
Right,
but situationally, Levy lacked a little bit there too.
He did. But let me see. Let's go look at. Let me see. Our favorite guy to punch. Yeah, MC Lane Train was a quarterback back in his day. I don't think Brennan Marion wasn't a quarterback. His offense
he was
is
a receiver. He was a receiver.
Yep. So, it's a lot of stuff you got to consider.
He's been a quarterback coach at UNLV, and they've handled this. He may have caused this quarterback mess, but he certainly handled it very well.
They're winning games.
They had their backup ready to go. He's playing well.
6-1, so you can't be mad at that. So I totally agree
with that. I want to say this about Brennan, though. With Marion, I like Marion, and I like that offense. I don't have a problem with it necessarily. But if he's going to jump ship, which he's kind of moved around a lot.
He has. Well, every coach will. That's what I mean. Like, you got 2 years.
If we're talking about getting – what I was getting at is if we're trying to get any kind of
continuity or whatnot.
Continuity and scheme.
Who the hell knows this offense other than him? You know, he doesn't have a list of guys that are running the go-go. It's not the same kind of thing. So if you lose him a year and you've just now gotten that offense running and it does something well, then who's going to come in and keep that continuity to be able to run that? It's not the same thing as going against the air raid guy or even a veer guy. You know?
You've got 2 years with this next coach. It's not going to be something that's going to be stuck around for long. The defense is going to do their job, and because defenses continuously getting better and better.
3 years if they're picky, if they're really picky, but that's it.
Yeah. If they're the type to say, you know what, I don't want to take any head coaching job.
Yeah.
I want one that's going to be. I want a P4 job, in which a lot of P4 job correction. Let me pull back on that.
Natty, you get it.
They may say they want a P4 job that has a legitimate chance to play for a natty
or a playoff spot.
Right. I don't even think playoff spot. I think for a natty. I think certain jobs. I think that's why Brent Venables didn't take Auburn. He didn't take any of the other jobs where he was really considered for. He wanted to go somewhere. If he becomes a head coach, he's competing for a natty. And I get it.
They run it a lot since that first quarterback.
Marion can bring a protege. Okay, sure. I guess he could.
He could.
I saw somebody earlier in the chat say Dana Holgerson, and I almost threw up. I was like,
that cracks me up. There's been some good ones, man.
Red Bull sales in Norman need a spike.
That's an Okie Light guy. That's an Okie Light guy. Come on now.
Can we get the Red Bulls?
Now here's a question.
Carrying, driving the wagon. Can we get a couple of Red Bulls driving the wagon if we get Holgerson?
Here's a question. Well, not even a question, but this is my gripe right here. I hear you guys talk about, well, if that Baylor job comes up, a GK Kitty. Okay, that's crazy. I mean, that's cool. That would be like a very eye-opening hot hire, and I think that would be great.
Yeah, that'd be
what
great.
About Jeff Traylor, man? Like, why can't Jeff Traylor get any love from some of the P5 schools? Like,
I mean, Jeff Traylor. I know that he was in consideration for Texas A&M, and knowing him, he probably pulled his name out of it. More so for him, he probably just don't want to go anywhere. Some of these coaches like being in jobs where they're not going to fire them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? I mean, that's got to be the only reason, because he should have been
a lot there, and he's been able to recruit to UTSA. I think he's waiting for that home run job. But okay. I think he's one of those guys that would take the Baylor gig, though.
Jeff Traylor makes $2.8 million a year.
Oh, never mind.
Hey, UTSA, he ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, he's
not good.
He's also not a former player. He was a DB coach. He's actually been a coach of every position. So, he's a quarterback. I think he's a quarterback. He can develop quarterbacks. I mean, he's done good with the McCown brothers. So,
NIL allows you to get guys past Joe C that you couldn't get past Joe C in the past.
Fair point.
Traylor, maybe he's one of those names that maybe you now could get past Joe C.
But I don't see Traylor leaving that job. It's too
not for $2.8 million. I mean, are we going to go three? I mean, if we're offering $3.5 million, which is what it would take to make Traylor our OC, why is that check not going to Will Steiner or Andy Koltonecki first, right off the bat? Here's $3.5 million. You need to say no.
Yeah, force their hand to
I mean, because Koltonecki was the hire last year, and you screwed that completely up.
Now, I just want to get to so just too many topics before we jump off here, because we've been on here past an hour. So the latter of the two is just simply going to be just kind of call your shot. Like, do you think OU wins this weekend? But here is one that I want to talk about. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I just want to talk about it. Around the table, Jay, we'll start with you first. Should DeMarco be your running back coach next year?
Putting Jay on the spot first.
Depending on who you hire is really what. If the new offensive coordinator comes in and gives you the option, I'd hang on to him. Jonathan Hatton in the 26th class is ridiculous, and so is Troy Blaylock. Both of them are really good running backs. When you go watch their film, they're absurd. Especially Hatton. Hatton's what, 6'6", already 200-something pounds, and not only is he fast, he shouldn't be able to move the way he does with his size. They love DeMarco Murray, and I wish we would have went ahead and just opened the checkbook and got Caden Durham to go with Taylor Tatum, but I digress. I feel like he has the backs in the chamber that we've been looking for a while with Tatum, because we've already seen how good Tatum is. We just need him to hold on to the ball and block well. But going down the line from there, he's actually got some backs that probably will redeem himself.
I'd say
yeah.
He plays them.
Well, I don't think he had the choice this year.
Yeah, but we know what he
That's
was
the rumor
last year, though, too, man. I mean, look, and I think Chris, is this anything does this have to do with Tawee and what he's been doing for the last month?
No,
how he's been eating.
No, not at all. I'm just asking, man.
Come on, bro.
That's fine. I'm just asking. This is not.
But you know the funny thing about that, you say that.
What's going on?
Funny thing you say that, Jason. It took Wisconsin 4 games to decide to actually let Tawee play too.
I had him on the show. He was hurt. He said he was hurt.
He?
Mm-hmm. So he said he was banged up, feeling better though, and then he got his 2 touchdowns against SC. Then he had 3 2 weeks in a row, and then he had another 3 last week.
Mason Watkins, answer the damn question. Should he be the
Run his ass. Run his ass. You know what I think. It's not even a question to me. Run him. I think if you get the right coordinator, it's not going to matter anyway. I think they'll get and keep whoever they want. To me, I haven't been super impressed with it. I don't love the stories that you hear coming out of there about him. Look, I love DeMarco Murray as much as the next guy is a former Sooner. I'm kind of in that boat right now where a lot of people are saying, to hell with this ex-Sooner shit. You know? And he doesn't work and play well with others. I think we know that now.
Chris Mason.
Losing Hatton and Blaylock is a body blow, but I'm willing to let the new OC make that decision. But I would say right now, I'm having a hard time reconciling the fact that Ramondre, Kennedy Brooks, and Eric Gray lauded what DeMarco did with them and how much they all say. See, I'm having a hard time with all those three guys saying loved what he did, loved being coached by him. He's a great coach. With them. I don't know.
We didn't say anything bad about him. Wouldn't so. Not to interrupt you, but he would.
Yeah, but I'm having a hard time reconciling that with what we've seen the last 2 years. Although last year was injuries a little bit. This year,
when Salter got healthy, he had 5 straight 100-yard games.
Yeah, there you go. And obviously Barnes wasn't healthy, and we know Marcus Major wasn't a he's a backup at Minnesota. He is what he is.
Yeah, he should have played more Tyree all of last season anyway. That was the biggest problem. He should have played Tyree day one, and
but I would say if again, are we ignoring recruiting and just letting cutting people loose because of what's going on? What we've seen this year on the field? Then you're firing DeMarco. But if you're firing DeMarco, you're firing Bill. You have to be consistent. They're both gone. Don't tell me that you're keeping Bill for recruiting, but you're not keeping DeMarco for recruiting.
Luckily, on that, you've got with Taylor Tatum, he's playing baseball too, so that's the one thing that kind of saves you.
So if you're firing DeMarco, I'd fire DeMarco based on what you see in the field. Yes, I'd let DeMarco go. This is where Will Stein is interesting because you give Will a little money, you give Rashard Samples some money at running back coach. Rashard Samples will keep Hatton and Torrey Blaylock. In my opinion, if you hired Samples, he'd keep both those guys. So we know who the running back coach should be at Oklahoma. It should be Tashard Choice. Screwed that up. Tashard's a great guy, former Sooner, Georgia Tech running back, and he really knows what he's doing coaching at Texas. So you're not pulling him from Texas, but that's the guy who should be our running back coach. If you're going to get rid of DeMarco, you've got to bring in a stud. Don't bring in like I got this guy who helps me here. Look, you better be able to go into that household and get back Torrey Blaylock, who's putting up 200 yards a game. Exactly. You got to pull him in. So, but long answer, Chris. Based upon what we're seeing this season, if you think DeMarco is in complete control of how bad the running backs look, then yes, you let him go.
All right. Well, people, let's go ahead and end this real quick. So, give me, I guess, your score prediction and just outright. Do you think Sooners win? And then score prediction. We'll go. We'll go. Chris Mason, go first.
They lose 24-10. They cover. It's a bet, but they lose.
Jason.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick them to win. I think that it's more like 24-21. You see something moving towards the right direction because they got rid of the, like Stephen G called them, the cancer or whatever it was in the room. Whatever was going on, they get them on track, but I don't know that you're going to go over there and win it.
That's almost a win. That's almost a win, Jason.
It is almost a win.
A fourth quarter close game would almost be a win at this point. It's a Aggie moral victory.
We'll take a moral victory at this point.
It's an Aggie moral victory.
Fair point. That's fair.
Don't say that.
2017 Ole Miss.
2017 Ole Miss?
Yep, 20-17. I think that we keep this game close and we muck it up. I think we have a chance of kind of winning it we just force turnovers and we don't turn it over, which sounds like Kevin Johns is doing a good job, we may surprise some folks.
Dart last week was throwing Dark and Nussmeier were like throwing picks back and forth last week.
Yep.
It was crazy.
Dart is very susceptible for turnovers.
It was, it wasn't quite the turnover fest in
run.
Austin.
All right, we'll see. Okay, look, Mike Crosland, I'm going with that prediction right there, 24-20, as soon as the good guys roll.
Now, I know Jay's left, but I got one last question for you guys.
Okay.
Because I tried to run this by some of my Sooner friends online, and they weren't having any of this. Is there a world, and what is the result that would make you honestly think about keeping the Joe John Finley, Kevin Johns combo in place?
They would have to put up. They would have to put up like.
Give me an objective measure.
You need to go out there and average 28 points for the next 5 games and win them all.
Okay, so you got to go. You've got to go. That's 9-3. Okay, so if you got to 8-4, that wouldn't be enough.
If you average more than 28 points a game, maybe. But I mean, yeah, because you could lose the game at LSU, whatever. You know what I mean? Can't lose to Mizzou, or you got to fucking go.
You would have to go. You would have to go
north of 7-5. North of 7-5.
You have to go 7-5, 8-4, and on top of that, you would have to put up at least out of the next 3 out of 5 games, and this can include Maine. You would have to put up at least 400 yards of 300 to 400 yards of offense.
Meaningful offense.
Meaningful offense.
Yeah, it can't be 300. It's got to be 4.
Games.
Yeah, it's got to be 4.
All right. So it does exist this bizarre Rocky-like comeback where you would consider it. Because I presented this to some folks, and they're like, frick no, hell no, no way in hell.
Sooner Legends been saying.
It would be a great story, all power to him. It would, allow Joe John to get a job somewhere else. But no, it is done. There's no realm where he keeps his job.
Listen, I think if they're out making the search, there is a possibility that there's no way they bring him back no matter what. But if you go undefeated and at 9-3, you might get in the playoff.
That's the yeah, but that's the problem.
Well, you would have put a third loss on Bama. You're probably putting a third loss on LSU.
Yeah,
if you're undefeated.
But they have to pass the eye test too, people. We can't just talk about statistics, because here's the thing: is that if you're putting up 300 yards of offense for the next 5 games and win with them all minimum of 24 points a game, I like this by Stephen G, because this is very realistic that could possibly happen. But the problem is right here at the 24 points. And the reason why I say that is simply because if you're only scoring 24 points and you're putting up 300 yards with what we've seen thus far,
you're not winning. You're not winning games.
You're not necessarily winning games, but those are very ugly games simply because 24 points is telling me that your defense it has a lot more to do with that than what you do, simply because you're not making them look good. Because and this is something I think that we haven't said about the offense collectively. We talked about Jackson, but if I want to see anything from the offense is, hey, can we play ahead for once? Can we be the one that puts up a touchdown or 2 and gets up 14-3 or something like that and gives our defense a chance not only play with more confidence, but to play ahead, right? So, I just feel like if we're only scoring 24 points and we're winning those games are very close, because I don't see us offensively being able just to go and dominate a game right now. So,
okay, so it seems like Jason is almost in the camp of no way possible.
I don't think there's any way possible that they win out, but if they did, I think that absolutely they would take a look at that.
All right, so let me add one kicker, and let's to keep the incredulity going, and Caden Helms all of a sudden starts flashing at tight end. Could you consider keeping Joe John?
Hell no, baby Capitera. And the reason why you can't keep Joe John is the simple fact that
He can't recruit his position.
Well, no, not only that, but that freshman that we have, I don't know why his name.
Davin Mitchell.
Exactly, Davin Mitchell. Davin Mitchell hasn't touched the field yet this year. That's an indictment.
But Brent explained that. That's an off the field thing.
That's fine, but that's an indictment.
That is blasphemous.
That is
blasphemous.
That is an indictment on Joe John right there.
I think it's an indictment of 18-year-olds enrolled in college too early. But okay, I'll disagree with you there. But I'll blast him on everything else about recruiting and development. But the Davon Mitchell thing is way too easy to have seen coming. But all right, that's my last question. I'll leave now after I've stirred up that hornet's nest.
You do this every time too, Chris Mason. I love you. I love you for it. Way to go.
We've been on here for an hour and 26 minutes. Go down to the bio, look at everybody's stuff. Go like and subscribe, do all those different things. Come on, people. Help me get to 1,000. You know what I'm saying? It's not that hard. Go ahead, like the channel right now. Horns down always. You already know Texas sucks. And it's about what it's 9:47 and Texas still sucks. So with that being said, people, we'll see you guys.
Go Ben. Go Commodores. Go Commodores. Go Commodores.
We'll be back for a post game, hopefully after the OU Ole Miss game. So definitely be checking for us around 2:30, 2:45 or so. We'll hopefully be back this weekend to basically just tell you about why OU won and what's next. So
and why Joe John Finley is a coaching genius.
Well, with that, people, we out.